What's up, everybody? How are you doing this fine evening? I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. And today we're going to talk to Wes and Michael from Rapyd Cloud. Rapyd Cloud is a hosting company, and they are doing awesome stuff. And here they will be at the live stream. Hello, Michael and Wes. How are you doing this fine evening? For me, it's
Hello,
evening at least.
we're great. I don't know what time it is for Wes in Australia. For me, it's 1:30 in the afternoon.
4 a.m.
Having a beautiful day, and I'm excited to join. 4 a.m. for Wes, who's an absolute trooper. Wes stays up late, part of the Australia experience. We're happy to have him.
We like mornings.
It's you like very early mornings, 4 a.m.
It's all good.
It's all good. It doesn't matter. Just like I introduced, we're going to talk about the Cloudflare that you've have been added. But before we talk about that, I was wondering, for people who don't know you yet, what do you do at Rapyd Cloud?
Yeah, so I'll start first. So I'm a founder of the business. And I'm a general manager. I run the day-to-day operations of the company. I probably a lot of people, if they're into WordPress, maybe have heard of BuddyBoss, was my previous company. So I ran BuddyBoss for about 15 years, which is probably the most popular social networking platform for WordPress. And the types of sites we were hosting are dynamic sites where people are logged in and have all kinds of dynamic content, and they'd have trouble finding good hosting. So we launched Rapyd Cloud to solve that problem. And here we are running Rapyd Cloud, the fastest, most scalable hosting solution for dynamic WordPress sites.
The fastest scalable solution? Oh, damn, I sold it myself. Need to get used to the streaming software sometimes. But that sounds really awesome. What is... Sorry, I lost myself during this. Wes, could you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, certainly. I've been involved in the internet and web technology since the late 1980s. Currently, I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Rapyd, and very heavily involved in the development scoping of our infrastructure, how our underlying platform delivers content for very complex BuddyBoss sites, very complex LearnDash sites, very complex WooCommerce sites, all with the same underlying goal. The sites are dynamic; they can't be cached easily. They can't be page cased easily. And what we achieve at Rapyd is scalable, high performance delivery of those sites in a way that no other hosting business is able to achieve.
So the problem is really fast hosting. What can I think of what a fast hosting does? What's the difference with a hosting? I personally use Hostinger or set up a VPS. What's different from my experience to what you have at Rapyd Cloud?
Why do you want to take it?
Yeah, I think what Rapyd sets out to do is deliver a VPS-like experience to customers that want a managed GoDaddy one-click like button. So they want the performance and the power benefits of a VPS, but they don't have the background, or they don't have the skill set, or just don't have the desire to actually sort of run that VPS themselves. Rapyd runs the underlying VPS infrastructure for them, and it does it in such a way that it's scalable. So traditionally, if you were to go and buy a VPS, you go to a VPS provider, be it AWS, Google, Hertzner, and you buy a box. You might buy 8 CPU cores and 16 gigabytes of RAM, and that's what you get. The problem is, as your platform grows, you start to hit the limits of what that 8 CPUs and 16 gigabytes of RAM, for example, is able to achieve. And you find yourself having to upgrade. You find yourself having to migrate to a new server. At Rapyd, we do all that for you. We do all that for the customer. And we do it in such a way that it's dynamic. See, dynamic sites in WordPress especially, are very shaped. And what that means is that they're not running at 100% all day. In fact, a lot of sites have narrow windows where they're super busy and potentially other parts of the day where they're not busy at all. In a VPS environment, they're paying for the time when they're really busy, even when they don't need it. At Rapyd, we've found a way through our technology stack to scale as the customer needs it. So when the site's not busy, the resources that are provided to them are suitable to their load. But at the moment their site gets busy, the moment 1,000 customers show up to try and do a webinar, or a WooCommerce sale goes viral, and their shopping carts are starting to hit 500 to 1,000 customers, our servers engage additional resources for that customer. Again, if they're on a VPS type platform, that's something they'd have to be doing manually. And for most of them, that skill set's not something that they have available. So it's managed VPS, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, managed VPS that automatically scales as well, as I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really awesome. One of the things that indeed during high peaks you need to, when you buy a VPS or just a hosting, you have limits on what you can do. And so
we've had customers in the past. Yeah, we've had customers in the past that have come to us in an emergency. They've spent a lot of money and effort building a complex LMS or BuddyBoss site. They've spent a lot of money on marketing and geared themselves up ready for launch at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. They go live and their server that they're on crashes in 5 minutes. All that marketing energy is lost.
I want to add something. So, a lot of customers, it depends on what your site is doing. But let's say you have a marketing site, okay? And you have a lot of traffic coming to there, and you want the site to be fast. Well, what do? Typically, what the host will do is just add very aggressive caching, page caching, so that when every subsequent visitor comes to the site, it doesn't have to go to the server and render a page. It's just coming from a cache. That's fine. But there are problems that happen for some sites. So one problem, if your site is totally overwhelmed, even if the front end stays fast, the WP admin can slow to a crawl. And this happens on a lot of sites, especially with page builders and stuff. You go in the admin and you wait 10 seconds, even 30 seconds for every page to load, which makes you not want to use WordPress. It makes you not want to update content. So that's the customer may not see that, but you as the content owner see that all the time. So Duplicator is on Rapyd. They moved to us earlier in the year, and they came with that exact problem. Their WordPress admin was so slow. They're like, we have this crazy popular site, but it's so hard to update anything in the admin. And so that really affects their business. They came over and now the admin is just super fast for them. So that's one thing. The other thing is there are a lot of WordPress sites that can't just be cached because they're not just flat content like a marketing site. So you have communities, you have e-learning, you have e-commerce, WooCommerce sites, all these types of use cases for WordPress. You have people coming to the site and all the content is dynamic. You're in a shopping cart, you're on the checkout. Well, your checkout and my checkout are different. You have different products in the cart than me, and that cannot be cached. So if your site has a lot of people trying to go through the checkout, you really don't want it sitting there stalling for 5-10 seconds when it could be rapid, when it could be instantaneous, which it will be over here, because our infrastructure is built around that.
And that's where people lose their checkouts. They've spent a lot of energy. They've got into their site. They've got their product. They go to the checkout and the wheel starts spinning. And the customer's gone, well, their site's down and walks away.
Yeah, it took too long for them to load the pages. And yeah, when you do that, then you lose a lot of people, especially when you're running a campaign. I can see that as well. That's really neat. So there's a question here. So does Rapyd use a load balancer to balance the visitors, or is that another way that it's done?
Rapyd uses different technology to traditional load balancing. Internally, our entire infrastructure is balanced, and we balance individual customers across clusters of very large AWS infrastructure, and in a way that effectively allows us to vertically scale a customer. So a customer may notionally have purchased 4 CPU, 8 GB of RAM style VPS. And I say notionally because internally we treat them differently. But we can allow our platform to effectively double that allowance in real time. So you can be running 4 CPUs and 8, and in real time you can jump to 8 CPUs and 16. So we think differently. The equivalent result is something similar to a load balancer, but without the issues that load balancers cause, specifically issues around things like latency. In a traditional world where you create things like load balancers, you put your database in one container and then you create servers or instances which connect to that database. What you wind up with is a scenario where when you connect the database and a container to each other, there's a delay between when WordPress asks for the database request and the database responds. That latency might be in milliseconds. It might be 1, 2, even 5 milliseconds, depending on the network infrastructure. If you've got something like a BuddyBoss site or a LMS site, which is doing 1,000 or sometimes 2,000 database requests to just load a page, that latency becomes seconds of extra load time inside that infrastructure. Inside Rapyd's infrastructure, the latency between our database and our WordPress node, Lightspeed node, is in nanoseconds or microseconds. So our latency is significantly reduced, and therefore our page loads are significantly increased.
That sounds really awesome. That you scale up the CPUs. Is that like, I see a question that I was thinking about something similar, that you add virtual boxes or that sort of stuff with CPUs, like, and here's like, so it's like Kubernetes.
It's similar. We use Docker.
Docker, oh, yeah.
but it's a virtualization. We partner with the company that basically invented the container. And they also own a little company called Parallels. Parallels is the little company that allows you to run Windows on a Mac.
Small company.
It's just a little company. That technology, that virtualization technology, sits underneath our platform and allows us to virtualize entire Linux environments in a way that we can simply go, that Docker container, give it more processing power. Give it more memory. And where in a traditional space, when you do that, you have to reboot your server and start again. In our environment, we can say, just add more space, just add more processing power. And it does it all virtually in real time inside our orchestration. So it allows us to manage customers' needs and balance those needs against their expectations.
Balance those needs. It's really insane. And I've seen this with headless solutions, but not with something similar to this, that you can really scale the virtualization. It's really an interesting concept that you have made to existence, of course.
It's a very interesting technology, and one that we've spent a lot of time with our partners on. The traditional Linux space, Linux doesn't understand the concept. You can't physically tell Linux, hey, you've got more memory. So what we actually do is work in reverse. We tell Linux, hey, you've got 32 CPU cores and 64 gigabytes of RAM. And so Linux thinks that's its available resource for every Docker container. our virtualization, the virtualization then internally dynamically caches and allocates those resources in real time. So the customers effectively only need 2 CPU. That's all of the platforms needing to give to them. It needs 4 gigabytes of RAM. That's all the platform gives to it. So the virtualization allows us to compensate for Linux's inability to scale. So we dynamically scale for Linux using our orchestration and parallel and virtualization technology.
That's awesome. The scaling.
The big advantage of that, every single customer in our platform, whether they're on our business one plan, our performance one plan, or our enterprise plan, get the same underlying performance. They all run at the same speed.
Because of the virtualization being the same and scalable?
They all run at the same speed. What they get when they increase their plan is more concurrency. So we can handle more visitors. So our plans are really about concurrency and about visits to our site.
Correct. They all get the same speed dependent on how much concurrent users they have.
Yeah, exactly.
So as long as the plan is in line with the amount of concurrent users they have, the entry level $29 plan is just as fast as the top plans, which is extremely fast.
Yeah, that's awesome. And besides the scaling of the websites themselves, using the virtualization, is there something else that you use to create very fast websites?
I think we should talk about Cloudflare. Mike, do you want to lead?
Sure. Yeah, we just partnered with Cloudflare. So now we have Cloudflare at the top of the stack, and we're using their enterprise grade CDN. So now every site that's on Rapyd automatically gets Cloudflare's enterprise grade CDN built into the site, which is providing even faster performance for the sites and easier site setup. I'll let Wes take over to go into the more technical aspects of it.
I think part of the thing that people, I mean, everyone's heard of Cloudflare, and they think instantly CDN, which effectively means getting the response to the customer faster. Our challenge with the dynamic infrastructure was to ensure that there was a way that we could get pages that need to be delivered really quickly there instantly, and for our dynamic infrastructure that we can also leverage Cloudflare to deliver our static information, our media, our images, and even video streams, quickly to the customer. What Cloudflare's most important feature is its edge technology, and what that means is that for the most part, Cloudflare has moved all of its intelligence to its regional servers, so or what we call at edge. And for us, that means that we can move a lot of our content delivery to the edge. The other feature that Cloudflare offers to enterprise customers is a feature called full page caching. Now, this effectively allows us for non-dynamic content, which means things like maybe a homepage, brochure sites, and landing pages, to cache customers' entire public-facing websites at servers around the world, where the response comes from those servers. So instead of the homepage of a customer site being delivered from their Rapyd Docker container, that data is actually, and the entire full homepage is delivered from a server in one of 300 locations around the world, effectively at the end of their street in some cases. The other feature of that, which is incredibly valuable, is that edge also allows us to manage security, malware protection, DDoS protection at edge. One of the biggest challenges in WordPress is keeping people from attempting to, attack your RPC XML point or to attack your WP login page. With Cloudflare, we can actually block those sort of attacks at edge. What that means is that it never gets anywhere near the customer's server. It never causes a DDoS attack, or it never causes any sort of performance load on the customer server. And for us at Rapyd, that's really important, because it also means it never causes any impact inside our entire infrastructure either.
So using Cloudflare is more than just using the CDN. It's also for security reasons.
100%.
Like I see on the website, I have it open on my second screen. WAF. So that's a, what's that?
So web application firewall. So effectively, Cloudflare over the last 10 years has been curating a set of rules that it applies to every page request. So when you come and visit a site at Rapyd, the first thing that Cloudflare does is runs a set of rules against that request that says, is there anything wrong here? Does this look like a malware attack? Does this look like a denial of service attack? Does this look like someone's tried to write a script to steal the cookies? And it instantly blocks those at Cloudflare's own edge. The big advantage of that is that it protects our entire infrastructure.
So it's hitting the edge first, and so that's a database or server near the person that is visiting. And then it goes to the server itself, right?
Yeah.
I'll add in there. So we take security very seriously. We invested a lot in security on the platform. So Cloudflare is just the latest addition to it. So Cloudflare is kind of like top of funnel. The customer comes in, Cloudflare's WAF, the web application firewall, that's the shield at the top level before the traffic hits. But then we also have monarchs at the server level, and we have our advanced site shield powered by PatchStack, which is scanning plugins. So we're doing security at the Cloudflare level, and at the server level, and at the WordPress plugin stack level. Wes, maybe you can touch on monarchs and our advanced site shield briefly and explain how that works, so people understand that when you're here. And also on top of that, our containerization of environments between all these levels on the stack. Your site is not only very faster, but extremely secure, more so than you would find in most other hosts.
So unlike a shared hosting, as we mentioned earlier, we use Docker, which is a containerization infrastructure. Docker allows us to ensure that each customer's site runs in its own container. There's no leaking between two customer sites. There's no way that one customer's site can infect another customer's site. And as Mike suggested, we start at the front with Cloudflare. Once a customer's site gets through all those Cloudflare rules, it then enters our infrastructure, and we then run a Komodo WordPress application file, which is another layer of WordPress of security, and that's at the edge of our container. Once they get into the container, we then start running malware in real time via our Monarch security infrastructure. Monarchs is one of the world's leading server level malware monitoring tools. It's different to installing a plugin on your WordPress site to manage security. It's one of the it's often said that one of the worst places you can put security is inside the box. You need to put it outside of WordPress itself, and that's what we do. Our Monarch security sits at our very low level inside every customer's container. It monitors every interaction with that site. It monitors every interaction with that server. If Monarch sees anything that looks strange, it in real time is analyzing it. It uses a RAS system, which is effectively an intelligent process that's analyzing every action that happens in your WordPress site and assessing whether that is safe and allowable within the WordPress space. What that means is that in a lot of cases, Monarchs is at the forefront of detecting new malware attacks. And Rapyd, as a partner in that, is at the forefront of those malware attacks. Sadly, there are new malware attacks happening probably daily now in the WordPress space. Monarchs captures them in real time. It detects them, manages them, and develops a security protocol for those attacks in real time, and they're provided instantly to every one of our customers. So if there's a new Monarch, or if there's a new malware attack in the WordPress space, Monarchs will have a patch for it in real time at the moment they detect it. And then in the middle, we have PatchStack, and PatchStack, with our advanced site shield tool, allows us to ensure that plugins in the WordPress space are always up to date with the latest security protection. Unfortunately, WordPress plugins that are old or out of date are likely, in a real sense, to have vulnerabilities. Unfortunately, they are well known in many cases, and it becomes imperative that customers continually update their WordPress plugins. People, however, aren't running many of their WordPress sites full time. It's their weekend gig or their side gig. They may only get to update their plugins maybe once a week or once a month in some cases. With PatchStack and our advanced site shield running, they know that they are protected even though they have not yet updated their plugin. So it gives us many layers of security and many layers of protection in the same space. The other really important thing to understand about all of this security is that it's designed specifically for WordPress. It's designed specifically for our Rapyd customers, and they don't need to even think about it. It just happens. It just works. They don't need to go to buy additional plugins. They don't need to buy, additional security platforms. It's built in. Every customer gets it as a part of their Rapyd plan.
It's really awesome to hear that there are several layers of protection, actually. One's at the cache, one is in the virtualization itself, and even before that, right? Like at the entrance, the router, I guess, something like that.
At the router, which is where our Komodo firewall sits.
Yeah, Komodo firewall.
And
I've never heard about that.
And we also have AWS as a partner, and AWS, we also have AWS Site Security, which sits right at the edge of our platform. So we're doing everything we can in our power to ensure that our customer sites are safe and protected from those reports of malware that do happen in the WordPress space. And the customers can have that comfort of knowing they don't need to worry.
And on top of that, we also are doing automatic daily backups of your server and of your site with a one-click restore. So if in some unfortunate event something did happen, it's very easy for you to roll back to a previous state.
And
automatic regression testing?
We don't do automatic regression testing in dynamic sites. It's incredibly complex. And a challenge for customers to understand. But it is something that we are exploring at the moment for a future rollout of our platform. Regression testing works really well when the site isn't complex. It might be a bunch of static pages. When it's an incredibly complex dynamic site, like a LearnDash site or a WooCommerce, complex page, or a BuddyBoss site, or a directory site, regression testing requires effectively looking at every page in the platform and trying to notice whether or not a pixel has moved here. So regression testing at that level is something that's been a challenge in the past. With AI now coming to the fore, it is something that we're certainly investigating and looking at as a part of a future feature set for Rapyd.
That's that's really awesome. Yeah, I've looked into that as well in the past with WP Remote, if I remember correctly. It offers regression testing, visual regression testing, and also you have options, of course, for technical testing. Yeah, so I can't wait if when that's introduced. So when you do, I'd love you to have you guys on here again. For the CDN, you have in the past you have used your own solution, right? Rapyd CDN, if I remember correctly.
When we originally launched Rapyd, we partnered with a WordPress infrastructure provider. You may have heard of them, Security.
Yeah.
And Security's owners before they were acquired, built their own CDN platform for WordPress. It's a good product. In all honesty, in the WordPress space, it's a challenge to get people on board with anything other than Cloudflare. A large percentage of our customers are inbound customers, which means they've already built a WordPress site somewhere else. And that meant a lot of those customers are already on Cloudflare. Coming to Rapyd, those customers wanted to stay with Cloudflare. And what we decided was to eventually go, Cloudflare is where our customers want to be. Let's find a way to deliver Cloudflare as a seamless experience for our customer base. It means that Cloudflare is in your dashboard. You can manage your zone files natively inside our Rapyd dashboard. You don't even need to go into Cloudflare. If you are uncomfortable with even going into Cloudflare and creating your own Cloudflare account, we can also create hosted Cloudflare accounts for our customers, where they get access to a zone file on Cloudflare from us. And most importantly, it allows us to extend the services that aren't traditionally available on what I would call a free Cloudflare account. The most noticeable of those is the enterprise level features of Cloudflare, like tiered caching, and tools like full page cache. Full page caching is a paid add-on for WordPress customers in a free environment. It costs them quite an amount of money to get full page caching inside Cloudflare themselves in Rapyd. The moment they enable their Cloudflare option with us, full page caching is a part of the feature set that they get provided to them. And importantly, they can still keep their existing Cloudflare account. Then we physically connect to those Cloudflare accounts, which means that customers that do want to have, I've already got Cloudflare, I'm using it for other things. It might be for, image caching or video streaming. They can keep their existing account, and they link to Rapyd just via an API key. They provide us with a single key, and that then allows Rapyd to manage the parts of their Cloudflare environment that we need to manage. And primarily that's things like managing IP addresses for the domains that are connected to our Cloudflare infrastructure. And that's important long-term in a world where IP addresses are becoming more flexible, IP addresses are becoming more variable. If a customer decides to move regions, for example, inside our infrastructure, they don't need to update any records themselves. Rapyd automatically manages those records for them. We manage their connections to the CDN edge and their addresses. So there's no manual entry of data that they would traditionally have to go into their zone files and enter text files and CNAME records and all that sort of data.
So in that way, it's all connected in one platform. Nothing to switch through and see if everything, how you need to set it up and going outside of a space that you're used to working.
Which goes back to the original that WordPress, the Rapyd philosophy. It's a fully managed virtual platform. Everything that you need to do, you can do inside your Rapyd dashboard. Without needing to go out and connect to somewhere else.
That's really awesome. That everything can be managed in one place with a managed hosting, right? Having Cloudflare in there as a CDN, but also for security, providing different layers with different layers also for the patch stack. It's very important, of course. Does that also solve issues with like you said, outdated plugins? We have some plugins running still on an outdated WordPress version, because when you try to update it, it just breaks the whole site. Some functionality doesn't work. because the developer doesn't update the plugin again to the latest version.
That's one of the core values of PatchStack and of our
Ah.
Advanced Site Shield, is that providing PatchStack has got an understanding of the vector or an understanding of the problem, PatchStack can virtually patch the vulnerability component. It doesn't upgrade your plugin. The plugin stays as it is, but it virtually patches the vulnerability. And there's a really valuable reason for this. We talked about regression testing, and we talked about challenges like updating plugins. In the WordPress space, there are some very complex plugins like Elementor, for example. Now, Elementor sits underneath a lot of our customer base, probably about sort of 60 or 70% of our customers run Elementor. Every time Elementor is updated, customers need to spend time regression testing and analyzing the changes to make sure that they don't affect the layout or the look of their site. What that means is that customers are reluctant to upgrade Elementor instantly. They might wait for a 1.01 update, or they might have to wait till the end of the month to test it. If Elementor, for example, were to have a vulnerability, a number of customers are exposed, and that's happened in the past with platforms like Elementor, platforms like Bricks, where people have not yet gotten through their testing at the point where a vulnerability has been discovered. With Advanced Site Shield, with tools like PatchStack, and also Monarchs, Rapyd is protecting those customers' sites from those vulnerabilities in real time.
That's that's nice to hear. So those are the key takeaways for good hosting, of course. That you have different layers of those, and that PatchStack is really something that you need for your hosting as well. Let's see. What's the biggest difference between the enterprise version of Cloudflare and between the free version? Because the free version is something that everybody uses, of course.
It's largely to do with the way Cloudflare manages the middleware. Cloudflare will tell you they have 300 edge points. That means there are 300 data centers. But sitting between those 300 is like an intermediate layer, which is a set of, I haven't got the math on me. It's something like 15 or 20 regional data centers. Now, Cloudflare is huge. It physically, let's do the math, can't hold the entire internet in every one of its 300 data centers. The math just doesn't add up. So what Cloudflare, what Cloudflare does is hold the most active parts of the internet at edges. Now, that means that for a site on maybe WordPress, on a traditional free account, there are what are called edge misses, which means that your page hasn't been busy enough or hasn't been popular enough for your CDN data to be fully propagated to edge. What that means is that the first person in a region, the first person in your suburb who goes to your website triggers a request to Cloudflare to go back to your web server and get the data and pull it forward. And then as more pages are accessed, it will pull more pages forward. And that's what the standard free tier does. Cloudflare in enterprise and paid versions has what's called tiered caching. And what it can do is it's much more capable of holding more of the internet in the intermediate layer. So it can hold in its tiered cache a much bigger chunk. And effectively in tiered caching, there might be 50 regions that connect to a single node in the tier. So in a tiered cache, the first person in your country, for example, who visits that page, loads the data up to the tier, and then Cloudflare loads that data to Edge. But because it's already loaded to the tier, for everyone in that region, there's no longer a requirement to go back to your website. So what we achieve is better performance at Edge with Enterprise Cloudflare, because it's pulling much more data from inside Cloudflare's infrastructure more efficiently. The other features, as I said, are things like full page caching, and much more advanced web application rules. So the standard rule set that's available for a WordPress site or for a Cloudflare site is good, but the rule set that's available for enterprise customers, which is their application rule set, is much more targeted. So we have a WordPress application rule set running inside our platform that specifically is targeted to the application space itself. So they're the primary differences between the two. Of them, for our customers, full page caching obviously is something that they get for free. Well, not included in their WordPress Rapyd application. So they get the full advantage of full page caching for their magazine sites, for their brochure sites, for their landing pages, and significantly, we can also handle full page caching for WooCommerce. You don't do it for the checkout, but you do it for product pages, for catalog pages, and our infrastructure intelligently updates that full page cache in real time. What that means is that your product, you've just sold the last one of it, it's no longer available. In a traditional full page case, the full page cache would still think there are product available. With our intelligent architecture, we actually monitor the WordPress site in real time. We monitor things like products. If we see a change in the product information, we can immediately report that out to Cloudflare's Edge and say that page, the product page for that particular product, has just been updated. Here's the clean new version of it. The same thing for catalog pages and for category pages as well with inside that infrastructure. So we keep a fresh version of full page caches for WooCommerce.
That's really awesome that you have some kind of custom way to call out that the page is refreshed and that you don't get stale pages that that have been and that you don't have to do that manually. I mean, usually you have to refresh cache and then update that, do that as well on Cloudflare.
And you can do that when you're editing a page. But with a WooCommerce site, you can't do that if the product just ran out of stock.
Yeah.
In our infrastructure, we manage that and monitor those.
That's really awesome. Really awesome to hear about Cloudflare and how that works. And what the differences are between the free and the enterprise version. That you get more pages out there with tiered caching between the edge layer and more regional. And thank you very much for explaining that. It was very interesting to understand and hear. So now that this is integrated and added, people can find that on what kind of website? I think it's Rapyd with a
Rapyd, rapyd.cloud.
rapyd.cloud.
Look at that. Nice shirt. I will share that in the chat as well for people that are watching afterwards, that you can really find it. And what's the next step for Rapyd Cloud? What will be happening in the upcoming year?
Lots.
Lots.
Watch this space. Look, putting it very simply, Rapyd's goal is always to be the most high performance infrastructure in the WordPress space. And we're actively working on our next generation of infrastructure as we speak. That will be launching later this year, and we expect another jump in performance. Sort of.
Correct. We're aggressively updating our product. So we've had some infrastructure updates over the last few months, and now we're actively updating our migration tools right now. That'll go live maybe this week or next week to make it even easier for someone to migrate a new site. The Cloudflare integration, if you already have Cloudflare, all you have to do is create an API token and enter it, and your domain is mapped, and all your Cloudflare settings are pulled in. We're trying to, at every step, make the process as seamless as possible for the customer, and we're constantly looking at things and iterating and tweaking. We'd like to be able to have the service available to a larger audience. And so we are aggressively updating the product to just make it more accessible and continue to be the fastest and most scalable product. We named the company Rapyd for a reason. We have a mission of being the fastest, most scalable hosting. And it's all, but without you having to go into AWS, and configure all that, or configure a VPS or all that, to be a fully managed dashboard where it's easier for you to do backups and to do restores and to change your DNS and do all the things you would do, turn on WP debug, all the stuff you would want to do in a managed dashboard. So the mission is very clear, and we have a long to-do list of things we're doing that are all oriented around that, just speed, security, and ease of use in the dashboard. And we're going to continue to roll out improvements every month toward that goal.
And customers should continually watch that space. We rolled out Elasticsearch for all of our performance and enterprise customers in such a way that it's just there. It's not something that they have to go purchase from someone else. It's not an add-on that they have to buy. If you deploy a WooCommerce site in our platform on our performance or our enterprise plans, Elasticsearch is a native tool. It's natively integrated. Your WooCommerce page searches are instant. We've got customers with 20, 30, and 50,000 catalog products, and they go, search for this crazy combination of products, hit OK, and it goes, here's the list.
Correct. These are the types of challenges that a lot of other hosts don't think about. So, we're attacking it from all sides, trying to maintain being extremely performant and easy to use. And yeah, that's a perfect example.
Really awesome. So if you're interested in a very amazing hosting that's really fast and has the mission to be the fastest and the best managed hosting provider, then check out Rapyd Cloud, rapyd.cloud. Thank you guys for this questionnaire and explaining about Cloudflare. Is there anything you'd like to add as a closing talk? Where can people find you, for example?
I'll add a couple things. So one, we have a 3-day free trial. So come to the site, you can start a 3-day trial, and within that trial, you can deploy a site and play with it and see what the dashboard is like and see what the performance is like. When you're ready to migrate, you would bump out of the trial to a paid plan, and we'll do the migration for you. We do a free migration, and we will look at your site wherever it's at now and analyze it and bring everything in and help you get the site deployed, and we'll make sure everything's set up properly for performance. In terms of Wes and myself, we're both pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm Michael Eisenwasser. Maybe you can post it in there. You can find me on LinkedIn Connect. I'm pretty active there.
Just touching on one really quick question that was asked in the channels. Rapyd Cloud uses Lightspeed web servers. Nginx is a good product as well. That was a question that was asked. We chose Lightspeed servers because, respectfully, they're even faster. We have significantly optimized the Lightspeed product stack to allow us to deliver on our scaling performance. As such, our Lightspeed servers also understand our dynamic scaling. We, for example, can run hundreds and thousands of PHP workers on our large enterprise platforms in spaces where traditional Apache and even some Nginx platforms would be hesitant to run 50 or 100 workers. And that's really important for concurrency. Rapyd is hugely optimized in the concurrent space to allow us to achieve the technology stack. So if that answers that question, so we use Lightspeed servers for our stack.
Lightspeed, yeah. Lots of questions about that as well, but I don't think that's for the stream right now. Thank you for clarifying that you are using Lightspeed, and thank you both for joining.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's nice, likewise. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you find it very interesting. Again, check out Rapyd Cloud, and we'll see you guys next week. And as always,